When it comes to fishing, there's a variety of ways that we can anticipate what it means, or a variety of ways we can experience it. The first way is likely the most common, that we experience it as a form of recreation. There's nothing quite like going out in a quiet boat onto the lake at whatever time of day and just simply sitting there in quiet, waiting for the next nibble of the fish that is passing by. Or maybe it's an aggravation for some of us just because it tends to be something where you have to have a game of patience, where you're just waiting and waiting and waiting and it seems as if nothing's happening. Maybe for some it's a profession, something that they do for a living and to win bread at the end of the day. But there's another form that maybe we're very familiar with, but likely we don't apply to it as readily. And this is the form of fishing that we can call searching. Because we hear in the gospel that the disciples, they were fishing. They went back to doing the very thing they had done 3 years before. Their very profession, something that they were used to, something within their comfort zone. That they abandoned everything else and they went back to fishing. But were they just fishing for fish, or were they actually searching? And that's exactly what the gospel it seeks to paint out for us, because it wants to warn us away from doing similar things. It wants us to stop searching, to stop looking for something else besides Jesus Christ, and to indeed enter into a relationship and to understand what it means when he asks us, "Do you love me?" So at the very outset of this gospel passage, we're told that Jesus had appeared to the disciples many times already, 2 in fact. And yet it seems as if the disciples aren't quite sure what to do with it just yet. And so they're kind of bored with waiting and whatever was on their hearts. And they decide, let's go do something else. Let's go back to our comfort zone where we're very familiar, that place that is something that we can relate to. Let's go back to fishing. And so they go fishing. But notice there's a detail in the Gospel of John that we might have just glanced over. It says it was night. And night in John's gospel is indicative of something else, not just the time of day, but it's also telling us that they had strayed from the Lord for that moment. And usually whenever it is nightfall, it's when Judas is betraying someone. It's when the disciples are straying. It's when something bad is happening. And we're told that during that night, whenever they're out fishing and searching for more, they caught absolutely nothing. And then the Lord appeared on the shore, and it was dawn. This too, it's not just an indication of time, but it shows us that the Lord is drawing near, that he's trying to get them back into right relationship with him. And he asks, have you caught anything? They answer, no. And they're rather ashamed at this point, I would imagine. And so then he tells them, throw the net over the other side. And it's filled once again, as it was when they were called so long ago. It is filled again with the abundance of fish, the number being 153. Now, what that means, there's several possibilities to this, whether it is the varieties of known fish at the time or whether it was all the nations and people. But nonetheless, it was a lot, and the nets were in danger of tearing yet again. And notice, John the disciple, and John the apostle rather, he was speaking to Peter on behalf of him and saying, it is the Lord. That he was the one that noticed that it was the Lord. And Simon Peter was still a little bit in the dark. And yet he still announced that beautiful news. That's the Lord. That's the one we're looking for. And this excites Simon Peter. He runs back to shore because he realizes he's been wasting time. He hasn't been doing what he should have been doing or seeking what he should have been searching for. And so he goes back to shore, and all the disciples join him, and they are welcomed to breakfast by the Lord. And then that final exchange that the Lord has with Simon Peter, that threefold question, and the question is the same, but asked 3 times. Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Simon, the first 2 times he answers the same. Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And the Lord gives him an indication of what he should do with that love. Go and feed my sheep. But the 3rd time, he asks him yet again, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Simon, he begins to become upset because it seems like the Lord's not listening. He's not paying attention. So he says, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. But the thing is, the Lord wasn't looking for a superficial or fleeting answer. He wasn't looking for just lip service. He was looking for Peter's assent. That assent that he had denied whenever he had denied the Lord those 3 times, whenever the Lord was facing his passion and death, and ultimately his resurrection. Jesus is giving him a chance to make up. And then he elaborates on why he's asking him, because he says, if you love me, these are the things that are going to happen to you. It's not going to be enough to just say you love me, but you've been going all these places where you've wanted to go. You've been dressed the way you want to be dressed. But in the future, you're going to be dressed with what you do not want to be dressed, and you're going to be taken where you do not want to go. You're going to do what you do not want to do. And Jesus doesn't just say, what do you think of that now? He gives him encouragement. He says, come. Follow me. And my brothers and sisters, we think about the apostles so long ago, and we might wonder how they could have come to that moment whenever they go back out to fishing, as if everything that they've experienced over the last 3 years is for naught. And we wonder and we criticize and we might even condemn them for that, but we need to understand that we are in their place as well, because many times we're the ones who are searching. And so that's the thing. What are we searching for right now? Because I dare say, my brothers and sisters, each of us are searching. And even that person that's sitting home on their couch right now, not going to church, or the person that's going to the wrong church, the counterfeit one, they too are searching for more, whether they readily admit it or not. But it emphasizes a point. Many of us are searching in the wrong places. Many of us are just looking for something new or more exciting. Many of us are just looking for something that gives life a little spark, a little pizzazz. And so we look for that thing, not realizing it's taking us further away from the Lord and His will for us. That we think that because it's new, it's exciting, it's filled with pizzazz, maybe this is the will of God. When in reality, we're going into the night. We're going away from the Lord. And we need to be aware of this danger, because all too often we're taking these trips. Why? Because it makes us feel this excitement that we don't feel in our faith, even though we were never promised that. Or sometimes it's whenever we start to scroll through technology and we find ourselves mindlessly doing it for hours. Why? Because we're searching for something. We're searching for more. Or even whenever it comes to the activities of life, if we find ourselves even bored for just a moment in the life of faith, what do? We look for that perfect relationship, then maybe this is the answer. We look for that perfect position, maybe this is the answer. We look for all sorts of wealth, we look for all sorts of things. Or even that perfect sport. Maybe this will finally make me happy and make me fulfilled. But it's night, and we catch nothing. If we're truly honest with ourselves, that we find ourselves wandering further and further away from God and searching still in vain. And that's because we've looked past the answer that's right in front of us. It's staying with the Lord. It's seeing how He's present in this moment and how we can enter in. And as the disciples made that mistake in the first place, they do get a couple of things right later. And the first thing they get right is that they're open. At least John was. And John, whenever he sees the abundance of fish they've just caught, he remembers. He remembers the last time this happened, whenever the Lord had first called them on the shores, that He had called them from that way of life. He called them to be different and to go about the way of life He set before them. And so he remembers, and he tells Simon Peter, that's the Lord. That's the answer. That's what we were fishing for and searching for in the first place. And so it's as if a light comes on and they finally remember. That's the one. That's the answer. That's my happiness. That's my fulfillment. That's the one that is going to give me peace. Not anything else. That's the one. That He's the one. And so they're open. And this is a pivotal thing, because if they had still been blind, notice Simon Peter wasn't quite awake yet, and neither were the other apostles. And so it is John that wakes them up and says, that's the Lord. That's the one we forgot. And so he draws them in. And so they have to be open to the Lord as we have to be. That sometimes, yes, it's in the ordinary, it's in the mundane, it's in the staying where we are and trying to figure life out at that point. But understanding that that faith and that trust, the Lord can do so much with it. So it's being open, right exactly where we are. And then the third thing, whenever Jesus is encountering Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, he asks that question, do you love me? And yes, Peter has to answer 3 times to show this is more than just an answer. This is more than just words. This is going to be something you assent to by giving over your entire life and even pouring out your blood as I did. And as he hears that warning, Simon Peter realizes the love that the Lord is calling him to. But the thing is, that's not just a question for us to watch as if it's a story or a spectacle, but it's something for us to hear as well. Because Jesus, he calls out Simon Peter by name. Simon, son of John, I know who you are, I know where you've come from. Do you love me? And we could imagine him doing the same with us. So whenever the Lord approaches us, he calls us by name and he asks us, do you love me? Are you finished searching for more? Are you finished searching outside of me, who is your life, who is your joy, who is your fulfillment? Are you done searching outside? Are you ready to seek in me? Do you love me? What will our answer be? Because the reality is, my brothers and sisters, we spend too much of this life just batting around, looking for happiness in all the wrong places, even the sinful and broken ones. Many times we'll hurt others by our indecision or by our selfish choices in this life because we're searching. Many times we waste so many hours, we waste so many days because we're searching. But we're not searching in the right place. We're not fishing with the Lord, so to speak. We're fishing in spite of Him. And perhaps, my brothers and sisters, this is a wake-up call for all of us. We don't need to go fishing. We don't need to be searching for something else because our source of happiness, our fulfillment, our joy is right in front of us. That is Jesus Christ who has risen from the dead. And He wants to bring us through this life and through the trials of this life. He wants us to assent to the will of the Father and not to search for empty meaning on our own. That question is potent for us. We don't need to be selfish. We don't need to follow our own will in spite of the will of the Father. We need to have faith and trust instead. Simon, son of John, do you love me?